And we got what we think is going to be a good one right now. We got Circus getting ready to square off with Hexx. So should be a pretty good ball game, and we'll see what happens here. Circus won the toss. They'll be the home team. So for those of you who are new to this, checking us out live for the first time, this is Chicago-style 16-inch softball, and you're seeing it correct. We do not use gloves. That is a 16-inch clincher. It is not a mush ball. So give you some quick rules. 60-foot bases. You can lead off, but you can't steal. 38 feet from the pitching rubber to home plate. 6'12" on the arc. The pitcher gets what we call a drag step because we're playing without gloves. That means he can go right, left, or back. One step. 2 fakes or hesitation. Third arm action has to be to deliver the ball home. A throw or a fake to a base is one of your fakes or hesitations. Leading off, Curtis Ostrom. And we'll get to some more rules here. Second pitch. Little soft fly ball towards center. Left fielder Brian Sherwin puts it away, and that's how the game starts. We also swing heavy bats. They can weigh up to 38 ounces, 34 inches long, 2 1/4 on the barrel. There is no outfield fence, so it's going to be all you can get. And that's going to bring up Mike Greco. So Circus just beat Iron to get here. And probably one of the better games of the day. And Greco swings, and he drives it toward the gap. And Brian Korenkowski got there. He went into a slide. The ball hit him right on the chest and then popped out. So 1-out base runner here for Hexx. And earlier, the wind was really howling out to right. It's very calm. We did have rain here earlier. And great job by Richie Arico. The fields are fantastic. And we're playing softball. Here's Al Rice, and he pounds one. Brian goes back, makes that catch. He did throw. Now they're going to throw back. He'll slide back. He did overshoot Chad Hook, who was the cutoff man, but Timmy Korenkowski, right where he should be, was able to corral it. And they almost had Mike Greco taking too wide of a turn there. So that's going to bring up Rob Scahill. And Rob swings and he flares it toward center. Brian Korenkowski puts it away, and that'll be out number 3. So the 1-out double, I guess you would call it, although that's should have been an error, and Brian will tell you he should have had it. And they can't do anything with it, and we'll head now to the bottom of the first inning here. Again, the live stream is powered by Gold Rush Gaming. So it was brutally hot the last couple of days out here in the Chicagoland area. We're in Melrose Park, a western suburb, and that little passing shower front that went through here, now it almost feels like it might be in the 60s, so it's been quite a dramatic temperature change. We should be good the rest of the weekend weather-wise. And we'll have a lot more games. Now, Saturday, it's going to be brutally hot. We may try to do an early morning game, and then we may have to just kind of wait till later in the day. Tournament runs through Sunday, so make plans to come on out. Manny Sanchez is serving hamburgers, tacos, nachos, and More Than Dogs has been out here. They've got hot dogs, Italian beef, and brats. And there's a swing, and Brian Korenkowski leads off with a base hit, a little tomahawk toward left center. Good job by Ostrom to get it in and hold him to a single. And that's going to bring up Kevin Duff. Circus is hitting the ball great in their first game. Probably the biggest roller coaster game of the night was March BTA when BTA jumped out to a 7-0 lead, and KD base hit. Koronkowski is going to easily get to third, and now there's a bobble. He's going to try to score, and he does. Now Duff slides into second. So Brian Koronkowski had shut it down at third. Smokey Kruger couldn't handle the throw in. Brian kept himself active, stole a bag, and on the throw home, Kevin Duff takes second. It brings up Timmy Koronkowski. And Timmy guides it up the middle for a base hit. Duff had to wait, and he'll stop at third. Timmy Koronkowski, the current RBI leader, says he had 2 last game. He wanted that one. So I'm sure he'll mention it to KD between innings. So that brings up Michelangelo, and I think when we talk about rosters here in the Chicago area, 2 of our better major teams, Circus and Flashback, consensus is they have the 1A roster, and you can pick your choice on who you think is a little better roster-wise, but just stacked up, and Michelangelo and Brian Sherwin, 2 big pickups in the offseason off of Chicago Dynasty. So getting back to BTA, they led 7-0 after a half inning. And March came back and beat them 11-9. And talking to some of the March guys and some of the BTA guys, and Alonji draws a walk. We are playing 1-1 tonight. And tomorrow will be open count over the weekend. And both the BTA and March guys that I talked to, they were telling us that March has beat BTA like 3 or 4 times this summer. And Chad Hook picked him up last year. He played in Iowa. Another run scores. And Chad Hook also rolling up a lot of RBIs early in the year. 2-0 Circus, bottom of the first. And here comes Chavez. And if you watch the high towering pop-up out of play, if you watched the preview show and saw some of the statistics, Circus has been scoring a ton of runs when they're right. And tonight it looks like they pretty much got a full squad out here. So they have a lot of players in a lot of statistical categories doing very well. So here's Chavez now, and Rob Grisano tries to get him to bite on a fastball. And Chavez goes high to center, tracking the ball and making the catch out there is Perone. And 1 run is in, 2 runs are in. Michelangelo just kept himself active. And for you kids at home, we talk all the time about the fact that, you know, we are playing barehanded, and sometimes you get those bobbles, and you need to run hard. And here's Sean Burke, one of the guys that my broadcast partner, Jerry Brown, had picked as a potential player of this little bracket. 4-0. And Sean, line drive to Grisano. Hook gets back, though. Of course, Chad Hook's been around the block. So up the middle, he wasn't leaning toward second. It's going to bring up Tony Valdez, the 8th hitter of the inning here. And there's a little ground ball to short. Rob Scahill bobbles it. Now Hook is in no man's land, but he scores. And that's going to let Tony Valdez get to second.
Tony, way to be alert, Tony! Good job, boys.
Yes, they did, Rusty. They ended up winning the game, I believe. I want to say it was 11-7. Players Inc. continues to impress. Now that their last two events, they've had their actual full unit out. And here's Brian Sherwin, and he dumps it into right center. Another run's going to score. And Brian Sherwin, a nifty double into right center. Brian a lot of times goes hard down that left field line. He crosses up the defense. And it's 6-0 Circus. And a little bit of a issue with Hexx tonight, Jimmy Moretti. Normally their starting pitcher, I understand, was in a car accident. We obviously, and his family was in the car, so we wish them speedy recovery. So Rob Grisano starting on the hill. Al Rice puts it away. But in the inning, they spin the lineup. They hit 10. They score 6. And we'll head to the second inning. So we hope Jimmy's going to be okay. But that impacts the team. Now, Richie Battistoni does have some experience on the mound. And we'll see how long they stay with Rob on the hill. And to be honest with you, there was a couple of bobbles there defensively by Hexx. And some very, very aggressive base running by Circus. So at the end of one complete, 6-0, Circus. Leading off here is going to be Richie Battistoni, then Rob Grisano and Eric Nidzella. So here's Battistoni now. Again, you got a lot of time, and we have seen leads throughout 16-inch softball disappear at times. And Richie smokes a single into left field. Sherwin will get on it. Richie Battistoni, no surprise there. Richie, a terrific hitter. And he comes through there with a big hit to start this top of the second. Sometimes that's all you can do as a ball club. You just got to punch your way back into a ball game. So here's Rob Grisano. And Rob hammers it to Hook, over to Duff to first in time. So Chad Hook, he's a slick shortstop, got a nice little bounce there. Timmy Koronkowski was playing on the left side, so Kevin Duff came over, turned the double play. So leadoff single has been erased. And here's Eric Nidzilla. Yeah, somebody told me his wife was expecting. So apparently she had the child. And there's a base hit. Good job, Lima. Running gag between me and Eric. But so the double play looming kind of big here brings up Smoke Kruger with Frank Peroni on deck.
Bert's here.
And he hits a high pop-up and catch made by Tony Valdez. So they get 2 hits in the inning, but the double play torpedoes it, and they go dry. 6-0 heading to the bottom of the second, and it'll be the top of the Circus lineup coming up. So again, we are live out here at Bulger Park. Live stream is powered by Gold Rush Gaming. If you're looking to put slots in your establishment, go with the gold standard. Go with Gold Rush. You can call them at 630-307-0500, or you can email them at inquiries@goldrushgaming.com. Please gamble responsibly. And that's going to bring up Brian Koronkowski. So that's part of the problem when you play these big teams. They're so solid up and down your lineups that they just put pressure on you. And there's a ground ball to Mike or Smoke Kruger, and he makes the play. And we've seen Mikey Kruger play all over the place. We've seen him at third, short center, second, in the outfield. Very versatile ball player. So leadoff man is out, and it brings up Kevin Duff. Kevin lashed a hard single into right field. And there he goes a little bit the opposite way, but there is Frank Peroni, and he puts it away. And Hexx does have the capability of putting some runs up. So if you're Circus, you don't want to be happy with a 6-0 lead. And Timmy Koronkowski pops up to Frank in center. That'll be the throw that ball carried. Again, what little breeze we have is going to blow out toward right field, right center. So Circus goes 1-2-3, and that may have been the breath that Hexx needed here. So it's going to be Frank Peroni, Nick Kimmer, and Jack Doss, the bottom third of the Hexx lineup.
Hey, hard liner, Frank. Come on, kid.
So it should be a couple of good ball games tomorrow night. As we'll see the 45s flashback. We'll be playing tomorrow. Chuck's from Iowa will be in town. So come on out tomorrow. It's my understanding, no threat of rain. And like I said, a lot of food.
Right, Frank.
We'll have a total of 8 games for you. And there's a little ground ball to Sean Burke. He'll take it himself for out number 1. Oh, I didn't see that, Pete. It's demon time. So that's going to bring up Nick Kimmer. Nick is another one of these kids where he gets moved around a lot. High pop-up. Tony Valdez puts it away. But Nick is a kid that we've seen at third, short, up the middle, second. And we see that a lot on the major teams. They have a lot of players who are good two-way players, meaning they can play defense and hit, but they also have players that are versatile. And during the course of a long summer out here, it can be very stressful on your group. So here's Jack Doss. He flies out to Brian Koronkowski, 1-2-3, and we're going to head to the bottom of the third. Still 6-0 signature. Circus. Sorry, KD, you came in my line of sight, and I had a senior moment there. So I remember when Flashback changed their name to Flashback. They were originally Flash, and then they had a year where they were Maxim. And then when they went back to the Flash name, they had kind of a different crew. So they called it Flashback, kind of like Vision going to Rewind a little bit. And I know Anthony Tyler used to get upset whenever anybody would call him Flash. And he'd always look at him and then say back. So here's Michael Angie leading off.
That was a
So here's Mike, another kid, very versatile. And there he walks the dog fair down the right field line. And Alonji's going to hustle into second with a stand-up leadoff double.
Starting to go together.
Well, Junior, I don't want to go too much into it, but they did get banged up a little bit, but nothing life-threatening that I'm aware of. And now Chad Hook just fouled on the right field line.
There you go.
As Chad was trying to walk the dog and replace Alonji at second there. Of course, Chad has been a dynamic offensive player for a long time.
Me and Kaz had him. Every ball that got hit in the air, I don't know, was minor kids.
And Rob Grisano trying to figure a way out of this leadoff double situation.
Any less than we care about it.
And there's a hard ground ball. Robbie knocks it down, throw to first in time. And Robbie relatively new to pitching. And he does play up the middle. You mean this guy in the bright green? I should know his name, Jackson, but I don't. Chavez, he goes to Al Rice for the second out. And that'll bring up Sean Burke as Hexxing out away here from wiggling off of the hook from that leadoff double. And again, Chad Hook missed the right field line by about 3 inches.
1 and 2, 2 and 2.
And there's a line drive snag by Mike Greco. Got a good read. Greco, a taller kid, made the play. So no change in score. Leadoff double goes by the boards, and it's still 6-0 heading to the top of the fourth. Yeah, Chad's a good player. You know, I know earlier in the summer they were a little worried because he was making a couple of errors, but he had the Tommy John surgery on his throwing elbow. So Chad missed about 1.5 years or so. And when you're not fielding ground balls, it takes you a little while to get back into the swing. I'm not worried about Chad Hook. He's a good player. So if you're Hexx, the bad news is you're down 6. The good news is you're at the top of your lineup with Curtis Ostrom. Well, and a lot of people don't realize, and there's a little overhand cut swing foul, they don't realize that Chad Hook is in his 40s because he's in such terrific shape. And he told me the biggest issue with his elbow was you always worry about the first time you turn it loose. And he said at the Westchester tournament he had a charge of slow hopper and he fired it over there, and then he said, yeah, I'm good. So here's Curtis now. Well, Mike is a terrific player. He's back at third base. I think he's one of the best third basemen. And that's off of the pitcher. Duff, tough play. He barehanded it out of the air, one-handed. But once that ball hit the ground, there was no chance you're getting Curtis Ostrom at first. So leadoff man on, good start if you're a Hexx fan. Yeah, I think Mike Alonji, if he's not the best all-around third baseman, he's right up there, of course. There's a ground ball, and Hook can't make the play. Looked like he rushed the flip to second with Curtis barreling down on the bag there. So first 2 hitters on for Al Rice. And Al is capable of cutting this lead in half with one swing. You know, when you think a great two-way third baseman, Alonji certainly comes to mind, as does Anthony Scarlata. who's been moved back over there after playing first. And there's a base hit. Ostrom's going to score, and Greco thought better of it as Brian Koronkowski charged and came up firing there. And Brian is a lot like a kid who played for me, A.J. Koya. Many of you remember A.J., terrific outfielder, center fielder, then transitioned and played left field. And the one trait they both share, here's Rob Scahill, and he dumps a hit in there. So one run scores. Greco had to make sure Brian wasn't going to get to it. Bases are juiced, nobody out here. And what they both share in common was they can start deep. They're so fast, and they charge everything, and they both have strong, accurate arms. So it's tough to run on them. So here's Battistoni now. 6-1 ball game. Bases are loaded. Nobody out.
Creep in.
And Battistoni, a little flip down the right field line. Valdez will get there, and he's going to throw it to second. And I like that play on the part of Tony Valdez. And the reason why I like it is Tony throws right-handed. He's running toward the line. His body was angled toward the line. He would have had to try to throw home across his body. Instead, he just went and threw the ball to second and didn't allow Scahill to go. And Robbie, trying to go big, hits it right up the shaft. And Sherwin with a laser to second. Scahill no advance, but Hexx has cut the lead in half here in the fourth. It's now a 6-3 ball game. And that's why I was saying if you were Circus, you don't want to get happy up 6. Now the lead's been shaved. And it's going to bring up Eric Nedzella, singled his last time up. Yeah, AJ's a beast, Pop. And I don't know if you remember him. I was fortunate. I had him when he was a 21-year-old.
Creeping.
And there's a little flare. Brian's going to catch that for the third out. But in the inning, Hexx climbs back into the fight. 6-3 halfway through.
Let's go, Timbo!
He was very good friends with Lane Neiman, who was my assistant coach, and I believe Lane might have coached him in baseball. And AJ was one of the best fundamentally sound players I've ever seen on a softball field. Started for 4 years at St. Xavier in center, and everything was on point with him. But enough of old times, as we got a good one brewing here.
Hey, what up? What up, brother?
So it's going to be Tony Valdez, Brian Sherwin, and then the pitcher, Joey Caputo, as we head to the bottom of the fourth here. High fly ball. Al Rice goes back, and he makes the catch. So since the first inning here, Circus has not been able to generate anything.
Come on, Brian.
And this game is settled in a little bit. You could almost make the argument that Hexx has the momentum right now.
Right, give me a double.
So here's Brian Sherwin. And that ball drifts foul. As you can see, we got all the banners up. And if you're wondering why there are Circus guys standing outside of the dugout, is because there's a lot of water in that dugout. So we're being a little looser. We don't want them standing in that moisture. So here's Brian Sherwin. And Brian, a little ground ball up the middle, and it gets past Doss. And another guy you can see, kids, taking that big, hard turn. Frank Perone out in center got on it and got it in. It brings up Joey Caputo with Brian Korenkowski on deck. And Joey hits a ground ball to Scahill. Over to Smoke Kruger. Can't get the double play as I'm backtracking out of the way. But they do get the fielder's choice. Brings up Brian Korenkowski. Now, Brian is so fast. Sometimes fast guys have a tendency to run the guy in front of them off of a bag. And he just hammers it down the left field line. Curtis Ostrom slid and the ball hops over him. And they're going to get a 2-out run there. 7-3. So Curtis got there, went into a slide to cut it off, and the ball just took a hop right over his legs, and Curtis is not happy as he slammed his hand down on his left knee. And here's Duff, a little roller, Korenkowski in. Kevin Duff didn't hit it hard, but hit it to a good spot, right in between the short center and the second baseman. And with 2 outs, Brian Korenkowski moving on the swing. 8-2. And there's a little ground ball, and that'll do it. So they get 2 of the 3 back. They push out to a 5-run lead as we head to the top of the 5th. So make plans to come on out. And if you do come out, pay attention to the sponsor banners. Because people like Gold Rush, Sweet Buzz, and the rest of these guys we got out here are the reason we can do what we do. So we got lawyers, we got movers, we got real estate people, we got mortgage people, cooler people, asphalt, seal, car dealers, food, bars. And here comes Smoke Kruger. And there's a high pop-up. Brian Korenkowski comes flying in, slid about 3 or 4 feet after he went down and made the catch. I'm always amazed at outfielders when they time it and they get there right as the ball is coming down and they catch it in a good spot. And of course the grass a little damp. They said we might actually get fog tonight.
You're a piece of shit.
And that pitch a little deep, Frank Perone. Nick Kimmer on deck. So if you're Joey, the one thing you don't want, and he goes and pops it up to Valdez and right, and he puts it away for the second out of the inning. So that's going to bring up Nick Kimmer. And the automatic sprinklers have turned on. And Richie Arrico, like he hasn't done enough, sprinting down the line to go turn the sprinklers off. Most of these sprinklers are on a timer. And so Richie dead sprint. I think Tony Valdez might have got an enema out there. I'm not sure. So it's funny because they got sprinklers over here, but I don't see them anywhere else in the park. I think they put those in because those of you who have been out in Melrose know they used to all be dirt out there, and they filled it in with grass, and I bet you they put the sprinklers in when they did that. But now let's keep an eye on that because now there's a fresh coat of water from the right field line toward right center. And this Richie Arico, man, he looked like 10 miles of bad road between all the work he did. He not only got the fields ready before the games, but after the rains, he was out raking and dragging, and the poor kid can't catch a break tonight. So here's Nick Kimmer, and Nick goes right to right field, and he makes the catch. So that might have been a test. They're all laughing. Look out for the wet grass out there. We head to the bottom of the fifth, 8-3, a little comedic relief in this ball game. And we were talking earlier, we saw a couple of right fielders right after the rain stopped having to go into those slides to catch the ball. And the wind was blowing and it's cooled off so much. And a lot of the guys came out today not expecting this kind of weather. And as an outfielder, it's just absolutely miserable when you slide and then you're soaking wet. So Chicago Dynasty trailing on the other field 10-3. They were down 10-0, and they're still hitting in the bottom of the third, trying to crawl back in against High Y. High Y sporting new brown uniforms this weekend. So here's Michael Angie leading off the bottom of the fifth. And Circus has kind of hung around a little bit, and Hexx just hasn't been able to get going offensively. And Alonji smokes it into the gap. Al Rice makes a running catch. Al Rice, he's a big kid. He's deceptive. Looked like that ball hung up in the air just a tad and allowed Al to get there. And that wind still coming out of the northeast. It's not blowing straight out toward right. It's really more left to right. And may have knocked it down just enough. And there's Chad Hook. Tried to walk the dog. Way foul. So we hope you're having a good Thursday night wherever you are. Glad to see that you joined us for the broadcast.
Oh, okay.
And there's Chad Hook. Smoke Kruger got there, but he couldn't hold on. Got a great read on it, put the hands out, but couldn't secure. And here's Alex Chavez.
Chad, what up? Hey, let's go.
Yeah, High Y is really starting to crank it up a little bit. And there's a little ground ball. That's going to be foul. Kimmer, a nice play to one-hand it. But High Y's got a very good roster. They catch the ball. Team speed up and down their lineup. And they play pretty smart softball. Chavez, towering fly ball. Peroni's going to make the catch. And that was interesting. He didn't even try to throw to second. He threw it to Scahill, who was lined up with the third baseman. So 2 outs, and here's Sean Burke. So Circus trying to get that 6-run lead back. Base hit here would do the trick. And Sean hits a ground ball right to Scahill. Little bobble. Ball kind of jumped up on him a little bit that second hop. So 2 outs here. Brings up Tony Valdez. And Tony's very deceptive. If I'm not mistaken. And he rifles the hit. 1 run is in. And Valdez sneaks into second. So back to a 6-run cushion. I was going to say, if I'm not mistaken, last year at Papa Hops, they had a little rain. And in the championship game, it might have been Tony hit an absolute bomb into left center. I think it might have got into the fan base. And the lights went out while the ball was in the air. No, he didn't hit a light tower like the natural, but it was a bomb. A little Papa Hops trivia. We'll be back out there live. And that's going to be a busy weekend for us. We got Nicky Lopez's charity event with the White Sox. And Brian Sherwin, a bullet, but right at Peroni. And he makes the catch. Thursday, before Papa Hops, the B Nationals championship tournament starts that weekend as well. We got Papa Hops that Friday, the Terry Moran that Saturday. So Gio going to be putting some mileage on the car. And so here goes Hexx. Game getting a little short in the mirror, rear view mirror. Top of 6, 9-3. And it looks like they got a pinch hitter for, I want to say this is for Jack Doss, Mike Chillo. And I got to say it, he played on Mudville. And then it'll be the top of the lineup. I'm going to get off this line a little bit because Mike's been known to turn and burn a little bit. And he goes high in the air. Duff goes back. Valdez might have had an easier play on it. And you can tell Kevin Duff, talk about range. And he's talking to Kevin Duff, and Kevin Duff told Tony, well, I didn't hear you calling it. And he said, that's because you were calling it all the way. So here's Curtis Ostrom. Curtis way early on that swing.
We knew that was coming. Was it the same guy that...
They're talking about Sean Burke and Kyle Schluter. Talking about Curtis hitting foul balls and almost killing an old guy in Marshalltown who wasn't paying attention. And there's various hitters will tell you. And there's a little fly ball. That's going to be handled out there by Brian Sherwin for out number 2. And it looked like Hexx was going to kind of get back into the ball game. They had the 3-run inning where they, at that time, it cut it to 6-3. The inning before that, they had a pair of hits, but there was a double play in between. And they just haven't really been, have not been real good this game offensively. And part of it is Jimmy Moretti swinging a good bat isn't here. And Jimmy normally leads off, and there's a base hit. Now, Greco has had a good game. And I tell you, he's come a long way from when we first saw him. He used to be a guy that it was like home run derby. He'd either bomb something or he'd pop up, but he's turning into a pretty good hitter. And here's Al Rice. And Al is a good hitter, but a lot of times he's content with just getting singles. Chad Hook looked that one in and made the play. So we're going to head to the bottom of the 6th, 9-3. And I tell you, Dynasty's got it down to 10-5. They're only in the 4th, 10-6, after trailing 10-0. So a lot of ball game going on there. And if this one finishes before that, we might take a walk down there. Of course, in order to do that, I got to walk through Sprinkler Alley over here. There will always be a Mudville guy somewhere, Matt. 50 and over, co-ed. So getting a at bat here, Scotty Herdecki. Scotty, long time hype flashback guy, came over here, I believe, last year, and there's a little cut foul. And the thing about Scotty is he's got so many swings he can go to. I think sometimes he doesn't have clarity in the box as to what he wants to do. Players Inc. won that game, Jordan. And Scotty just dumps a single into center.
Scotty, you good? You want me to run? Yeah.
Re-enter.
So Joey Caputo's going to re-enter. I thought they hit for Joey once before, but I guess not. Brings up Brian Koronkowski. And he sweeps the ball down the right field line. Base hit. So Brian, just a little sweeper, flipped it down the line. First two hitters on here. And should Circus score 4, this game would be over. Line drive, Jack Doss can't catch it. Now they get the fielder's choice. As there was a little confusion now, runners on the corner, 1 out. As Jack was going to throw it to first, and then the Hexx guys started yelling 2. And here's Timmy Koronkowski. So Circus here. And there's a hard ground ball. Scahill to Kruger to first, double play. And Hexx gets out of it after the first 2 hitters reached. So we're going to the top of the 7th, do or die. And there's Rich Rico, number 12. Seems to have his breathing under control after that mad sprint. Richie yelling long run. So he said the hard part was when he got over there where the water is, he had to run on a hard surface with wet cleats because they've got a black top walkway. So Timmy Koronkowski making excuses, blaming the batter's box for the double play. So it's going to be Rob Scahill, Richie Battistoni, and Rob Grisano. And Hexx has got a little work to do here.
Come on, Rob.
And Rob's an interesting player. He's got a lot of pop. Very strong arm. Transitioning over to shortstop, was a third baseman, I think, for a couple of years here. And there he hits it hard, but right to Kevin Duff. And that's out number 1.
Come on, Rob. Rich, walk, Rich.
So it brings up Battistoni as Hexx dropped. Sorry, I'm reading Melody's comment. Down to their last 2 outs here. So after the first, it was an even game. Both teams only scored 3. But the 6-run first has been the difference in this ball game. So 10-6 in the top of the 5th in the high Y game. So Battistoni comes through with a hit. Brings up Grisano. So the pinch runner for Battistoni is Matt Novak right here. Get a good look at the young man. Well, make sure you come and say hello, Lee, if you're here tomorrow. So here's Rob Grisano. And Robbie just slashed it to Caputo. Double play. Joey Caputo looked a lot like his father, Pat, on that play as he made the play. So we hope you enjoyed this one. 9-6 Circus. They look like they came to play this weekend. And we're going to take a walk down here, 10-6. High Y leading Chicago Dynasty. And there's a little ground ball. Hickey steps on it, and they get the double play to get out of the 6. It looked like they had a couple of runners on. So we're going to walk down there, and we'll pick it up. Bottom of the 6, 10-6. Excuse me, that's the bottom of the 5th. You could at least make sure the scorekeeper was okay. Okay. So, high Y, you can see they got these new brown and yellow uniforms. They jumped out to a big lead. They might burn them if they blow the lead. So we're going to make our way through the wetlands. And we'll pick this game up. Bottom of the 5th, bonus coverage. Little free softball. And I got to be honest with you, Dynasty's got some new dudes on there that I'm not necessarily familiar with. So sorry for the bumpy cameras. The grass here is a little bumpy in foul territory. So this is Chris Guerin. So we picked this game up bottom of the 5th, 10-6. And there's a fly ball the other way, and that catch is made for out number 1. And it brings up Ronnie Keck.
Let's go, Jack. Let's go.
Oh, no, this is Jack Landwehr. And then we got Matty Richards. And there's a high fly ball to right field. And that ball's going to be caught. So 2 up, 2 down. Matty Richards comes up. And there's Mike Mays. Mike, of course, a long-time Lemonhead guy. And now there's a timeout. I don't know what they're doing here. You don't often see 2 outs in an inning, nobody on base, and you have a big meeting. So I'm not sure what that's about. Chris Rogers looked like he had a loose shoelace, and they might have slowed down to let him tie it. I'm not sure. So here's Matt Richards. He's got an MVP at a no glove on the mantle. And Stone Cold Hitter throws it to the gap. Cha-Cha gets it in, though, and holds him to a long single.
That's a good ball. That's a good ball.
Here comes Mike Hickey. Looks like Joey Knops might be on deck. No. Yeah. And he tries to go down that left field line. That's going to be foul. Fan makes a nice catch on that one hopper. And I always thought Hickey was one of the more underrated players in the game. Terrific short center. Turns a crisp double play. And that ball toward the end of the bat, Cha-Cha makes a basket catch, almost slid through. But we're going to head now to the top of the sixth, 10-6. Well, I got to tell you, it went from hot to cold. And my nose was running like a leaky faucet earlier today, but I did try to blow it out good before I started the broadcast.
Hey. Stop right here. Get the lead off. Lead off. I need the lead off man on base, man.
So High Y has really been cranking it up lately. If you haven't had a chance, go check out the IF game from the North-South tournament, pinned to the top of the page, and that ball is going to drift foul. And 10 innings, High Y and 45s. 45s did win in the bottom of the 10th. The first championship game was pretty good as well. And both great games. I mean, I think the IF game's got over 35,000 plays now. And there's a little ground ball up the middle to Hickey. And that was a quick grab and release there. Vince Finelli, you might remember him from the Ball Busters. Joe Scamacci, playing second base, longtime Brick guy. He played with Signature the year they won in Highland, the major national championship team. Yeah, those were a lot of fun. You know, I love what I do, and when I get to live stream games like that, I mean, there were a lot of comments, a lot of people watching. It was very enjoyable. Two teams just battling each other. Two fantastic 16-inch games. And there's a little ground ball to Hickey. And he's got a little smile on his face. Looked like he wanted to play that off to the side a little bit, knowing that Jazz can run. And I think he was a little worried it was going to maybe hit the bag, but he just muffed it. So here's Cha-Cha. And there's a base hit. Jazz will stop and go back. And brings up John Banks, JB.
Get him out! Get it!
So here's John Banks, or as he likes to call himself, Mr. Two-Pete. He was a starter on that BTA team that won the men's major national championship tournament 2 years ago. And then last year, of course, he slid over to high Y and won another one. And Banks comes through. Jazz is going to score. Here comes Cha-Cha. They're going to send him. And John Banks tippy-toes into second. 12-6. So John Banks comes through with a big hit. And JB is a very good player. He's another one of these guys that he can play defense and hit, plays third base for these guys. You can put him in that team picture for two-way players. And here's Gabe.
Hey, Phil, you sending everybody. You ain't stopping nigga yet. Why? Why? They got to make a play. You got to pick it up and throw it on a dot.
And now Gabe goes the other way, caught by the center fielder.
Hey, that was a good swing, Gabe.
And that'll be an out. So 2 outs, 12-6, top of the 6. Brings up Trey Johnson. Chicago Dynasty late here, trying to put a Band-Aid, and Trey pops it up.
Hey, let's go. Let's go. Here we go. Come on.
And it's always interesting. Love tournament softball. And let me tell you something, folks. When you're live watching it at the field, you don't get the true sense of how hard teams are playing each other. So Joey Knopp's going to lead off. Joe Scamacci on deck. And it looks like either Karl Fabiakovitz, trust me, it took me a long time to learn how to pronounce that, or Billy Sherwin. And yes, that is Brian Sherwin's brother. So I give Dynasty credit. The last few years, they've lost some superstars. Joey Agardo, Michael Lange, and Brian Sherwin. They still got a team, and they're still fight you every day. And Knops, and it's down. So Knops walks the dog down that right field line, gets a break when the sliding right fielder can't make the catch. And here's Joey Scamacci. So Dynasty puts their leadoff man on. Bottom of the 6, trailing by 6.
Boom! 42! Hey, I'm standing there. Go. Yeah.
And Joe hits a little ground ball. Snagged by Dave Bradford. Nifty double play. Little Dave Bradford took a couple of steps into the hole, jumped up, and once he got it over to man, it was all over as they flipped the double play. Erases the leadoff single, and here's Billy Sherwin. And that's what high wide does to you. We talk all the time about the way the 45s will suffocate you defensively. But high Y is no slouch defensively. They got good players all around their infield and one of the fastest outfielders in the game.
Come on, Billy. Come on, Bobcat. Hey, stay home. Stay home. Stay.
And little Dave Bradford, of course, the MVP at the Men's Major National last year. And there's a high fly ball, Cha-Cha. So we're going to head now, top of the 7, 12-6, little bonus coverage. And here's Phil, the third base coach. He's going to need an ice pack the way he's waving guys. But he said it correctly. I don't know if you heard it on the microphone. One of the fans was like, Phil, man, you don't stop nobody at third. And he said, why? They got to make a play. They got to catch it. They got to throw it. They got to catch it. And then they got to tag you. So make plans to come out this weekend. Like I said, they get good food out here. They do have adult beverages, kid beverages, you name it. So leading off, Gardner Huff, also known as Man. And he slashes it on the ground to Chris Guerin, throwing the dirt. Matty Richards can't dig it out. I think Man had it beat anyway. Ball was not hit hard. High wide, not only very good defensively, but they're pretty smart offensively. And I've said this more than once. And he tries to go deep. Left fielder is there. He puts it away. Karl Fabiakovitz, an excellent defensive outfielder. And that ball was hit so deep, no chance. And that's not a bad miss if you're Travis. He tried to drive it. Ball was caught. But what it did do is it allowed the runner to move. So here's David Bradford. I don't know what's going on. Somebody must have said something. Walking up to take the swing, he starts laughing. So 2 strikes on Dave. I believe that was a strike. And there's a ball hit over our head. And that'll be a strikeout. Cannot hit a foul ball in 16-inch softball. And that brings up Renard Johnson. We were asking Renard. He had kind of a orange, yellow beard for a while. Today he showed up. It was back to its natural gray. And Renard up the middle. Hickey, long throw in time. And do or die bottom of the 7th coming up here for Chicago Dynasty. Little bonus coverage for you.
Let's go. Don't take it. 3 out, go. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, boys. Let's go. Deep here. Get it to me. Let's go.
So Karl Fabiakovitz looks like Vince Finelli on deck. And there's my broadcast partner calling it a night.
You got called a couple of great games.
Jerry Brown said he caught a couple of great games.
I'll be back tomorrow.
Jerry Brown. And there's a flare foul. Might have to get Jerry on this weekend during the tournament. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on and what's caught our attention. And again, we got some big boys playing tomorrow night. Flashback, Chucks, 45s. So it should be a good one tomorrow. This is the last game tonight. And again, we can't express our gratitude enough for the work that Richie Rico did to get us up and running. So leadoff hit here in the bottom of the 7th. Dynasty got a little more work to do. I once saw them in a game in the Chicago Championships. They were down 9, and they ended up scoring like 10 runs in the bottom of the 7th to win a ball game. Here's Vince Finelli. Little flare, and he cuts the line. Vince Finelli, first 2 hitters on. And it brings up the center fielder, Tommy. So they'll run for Vince, trying to stay out of the double play. And I got to tell you, they got a 6-run lead Tommy not a power hitter. He's more of a move it around, cut push guy. And there he tries to slap it over to Ace Rogers. They'll take the fielder's choice for out number 1. So I think Tommy was trying to cut that right center field gap, ended up hitting it on the ground. Here's Mike Mays Jr. Chris Guerin on deck. So Dynasty needs 2 or 3 hits here to be dangerous. And there's a bullet up the middle. 12-7. And Tommy almost got over his skis. Trey Johnson catches it. I think they got a play on him. So first and second here, 12-7. Brings up Chris Guerin with Landwehr on deck. These last 3 outs are always the toughest to get. And Guerin a little roller, and he'll just take the easy play for out number 2. These 2 base runners don't mean anything. And that's a big out because Jack and Matty Richards, both with a lot of pop, even a home run now only makes it 12-10. And that's a high pop-up, and that will be the ball game. So High Y jumped out big early. They hold on 12-7. So we'll be back tomorrow, folks, at 6:30. Going to see what the schedule looks like. Might have George Bliss doing an early game tomorrow. We hope you enjoyed the coverage tonight. Check us out over the weekend. Come out to Melrose Park and enjoy the event. Thank you very much. On behalf of Gold Rush Gaming, the SSA, Sweet Buzz, this is Gio signing off.